Okay, we're recording and we're going live in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to let everyone in and you'll see them. Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm just admitting everyone in so that we make sure we have everyone following us this morning. Okay. It's 10:01, so I think we better start because we have a lot to do today. We got a lot to learn. So I'm so excited this morning because the founders of The Whole Kitchen has joined us today, Anne and Susan. And they're going to tell us how to elevate our health with whole foods. But before we start, we are going to do questions at the end. And if you do have questions, please pop them in the chat so that I can read them out loud to Anne and Susan as we have the question and answers. And everyone, please mute yourself because if the dog's barking or a delivery guy is coming, we can all hear it. So yes, so let's start. Anne and Susan, take it away.
Thanks, Susan. Hi, everyone. I'm Anne.
And I'm Susan.
And we're the co-founders of The Whole Kitchen, and we're so excited to be here today. Thank you, Susan and Expat Living, for having us. This is one of the first times we've done a talk like this, so we're really excited to be here with you all. So let's get straight in. Oh, how do I change the slides? Is that down?
First glitch already 10 seconds in.
How did you do it? Click there. Okay.
So firstly, I suppose some of you may know of us, some of you may not. So just a quick introduction about The Whole Kitchen. So Anne and I established The Whole Kitchen brand about in 2015, so almost 6 years ago now. So we started it in Singapore and we specialize in gluten-free and low sugar bakery and pastry goods. So at the time, there was not much on the market. I'm sure some of you have been here for a long time. And there wasn't much healthy foods, tasty foods around at that time. I mean, I think it's changed a lot now. So Anne and I come together to create a brand that focuses on genuine taste and genuine nutrition.
Great. So just a further introduction on who we are. So I'm Anne Swain, the nutrition, I guess, behind The Whole Kitchen. I'm a certified health coach and have worked with programs like the You Fit Clean and Lean prior to starting The Whole Kitchen, have a big background in FMCG marketing, have had athletic endeavours with triathlon and businesses around swimming. So really passionate about health, wellness and movement and exercise.
So Anne and I obviously have little names for ourselves. It could be good cop, bad cop, or sometimes the nutrition and the taste. So I'm sort of the taste of The Whole Kitchen. So my training is, I trained a long time ago as a classically trained chef in the kitchens. But after 10 years, I come out and was more focused at the business of the food industry. And curating healthy eating programs for Google and schools and things like that. So yeah, and then both of us had a small business when we were in our 20s and 30s. Yeah, so that got us started on the entrepreneurial train.
Let's see if I can do this time. So we're going to start off, we're here to talk today about how to elevate your health with whole foods. So before we really dive in, what is optimal health and what does that mean? And as part of the World Health Organization's definition, it is, I've got to move you here, it is a state of complete physical, mental, social well-being and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So it's not just about not being sick, it's about being really well. And, you know, how do you know, or what does that look like for you? And I guess, you know, one of the key things is it's different for everyone, but you really need to figure out, you know, how it feels for you. Is it, you know, do you feel vital? Do you have vitality? Do you feel your best? Are you content with your life? Do you feel like you're thriving, or are there things holding you back in different areas of your life? You know, these are all good questions to ask to figure out what optimal health does look like for you. But essentially it's holistic. It's not just what you eat. It's not just how you move. It's all the parts put together. I keep pressing the button. Sorry, I'm really stupid. There we go, got it. So moving on to, you know, what we're going to talk mainly about today, we're going to talk about the food, the whole food element of what optimal health looks like. For those of you who don't know Mark Hyman, he is a pioneer in the functional medicine space, and he's really doing great work. You can follow him. He talks a lot about nutrition and makes it really simple to understand. So, you know, a quote from him: food isn't like medicine, it is medicine. And it's the #1 tool for creating the vibrant health we deserve. It's a nice little quote there to start. I'm really But diet can be really confusing. And I think we really wanted to address this point. You know, there's so much language out there around different diets, what we should eat. The nutritional advice from governments has changed over time. So looking back in the 90s at the food pyramid that we had from the USDA, you can see here, looks very different to what it is now. And this is the latest healthy plate guideline here in Singapore, and similar to that of the global standard. So it's evolved. There's no wonder we're all confused about what's the right way to eat. The low fat, high fat, it can get really confusing. And then now we've got all these new age ways of eating, vegan, paleo, you know, what does it all mean, and how do you know what is right for you? So the key thing here is really that you've got to listen to your own body. There is no one size fits all. Knowledge is definitely power, and understanding the science and about nutrition is fantastic, but then you are your own best teacher, and we can't forget this. It's such an important point. You know, what works for one person will not help another person thrive. So it's really about tuning in and listening to what your body's telling you, because it's giving you signs every single day about whether the foods you eat are serving you or if they're not. So I'll give my example here. In my 20s, I used to have a runny nose all the time. Everyone, the topic of conversation when I met someone was, you know, are you sick? Are you okay? You have a cold? I said, no, I'm absolutely fine, but I just always had a drip. And then went on my own nutrition journey, health journey, tried out different ways of eating, and realized that the second I took dairy out of my diet, in particular milk, it cleared up instantly. So that was my body's sign for years, telling me that, hey, milk in particular, it doesn't happen with all dairy, but the lactose content in milk was not serving my body. So it's really about turning within and listening to what signs, you know, skin rashes, digestive issues, mood, not sleeping well, brain fog, all these things are signs that your body is giving you every day, and it's about listening to them and taking it on board. But it can, you know, if you're not very connected to your body and your signs, it can be quite a complex place to start. Where do we start? So one easy tool is really starting with a food diary, and it doesn't need to be a complex spreadsheet. Can be a photo of foods you're eating, or just writing it simply down on paper, the old school way, and just literally how you feel after you eat a meal, what you ate and how you feel, and straight after. And then I also recommend 2 hours later, just seeing how you checking in again and how you feel. And if you feel, you know, great, and you're not really in any, there's no signs, and fantastic, the food is probably serving you quite well. But if you have issues, then it's something that you can look back and see what foods you had, and then start to figure out your own, what's right for your own experiment, and how you're going to adjust or change what you're eating. Okay, so with all the confusion out there, I think there's one simple nutritional element that all health experts agree on, and that is that we all should be eating more whole foods. What do I mean by whole foods? They're as close to their natural state as possible, so minimally processed. And I think we just wanted to make the distinction. It doesn't mean no processing. Even things like getting an apple off a tree, or picking a nut out of its shell is a process. Grinding almonds into almond meal is a process, but the key here is minimally processed and not changed in terms of form, so not refined, and free from any additional additives or artificial food substances that are in the food. Another key thing just to mention is it can be fresh and frozen. So frozen spinach is a whole food, just like your fresh vegetables are, as long as it's been frozen when in an optimal state. And nothing has been added, it can still be a whole food. And if you're looking at packaged food, it's really about whole single ingredients, and everything that you can pronounce or that you would have in your kitchen is how we like to say it. And the reason whole foods are really nutrient dense, and they're real food, they're what we should be eating. Okay, so now I'm just going to break down what categories of whole foods there are. Okay, so the first one will be no surprise to everyone. It's your veggies and your fruit. So, the key point I wanted to make here is it's all about eating the rainbow, and diversity is really key. So, each vegetable, fruit has its different phytonutrients, which are all amazing for your health. But it's not, but you can get some from some foods and some from others. So it's about mixing up the way you eat, not always choosing the same vegetables every week to have in your kitchen. Mixing it up, trying new things will be really good for your gut and your overall health. So I guess in terms of guidelines, the standard recommendation is 50% of your plate should be these vegetables and fruits. And then if you're looking at someone like Mike Hyman, who is, really pioneering and pushing boundaries, 75% of his plate he recommends is veggies. And he always refers to your protein as the condiment, or condiment is his little nice way of saying it. So really, can't get enough of these beautiful foods. And then we go to good quality protein. So protein is an absolute building block in the body of all your muscles, your organs, your functions. So we absolutely need good protein in our diet. Whether you choose to get your sources from animals or plants, there are an incredible array of different protein sources out there. And I guess one of the keys is quality. Whether you're going to be choosing meats or fish or legumes, it's about choosing the best quality that you can. The grass-fed, the organic if you can. So one question that comes up a lot is, how much protein should I be eating? And I think one of the key things that I would say about this is it should be with every meal. Yeah, it should be a condiment, I guess, of your vegetables, or however you like to think about it. Whether that's half your palm or a full palm, something simple in terms of, a good amount of protein in your meals. But your body will tell you if you're not having enough. Okay, so that's another question. Am I getting enough protein? And I think the signs, it's going back to the body and listening to the signs. So things like, are you hungry straight after your meal? Or 2 hours later, you're ravenous, maybe you're not getting that right balance of protein. Just add a little bit more, add a few extra nuts or a little bit more to your meals. Are you feeling lethargic? If you're doing heavy workouts, you will need to increase a little bit as well. So it really is individual, but your body will tell you the signs as well of how much is right. And then number 3, plenty of healthy fats. And this is a really key and important topic, so I'm going to talk about that in detail in a little bit. And number 4 is fiber-rich whole carbs. And I guess the key here is really, again, it's about what's right for you and choosing the amount and sources that suit you best. And I'll go into both these number 3 and 4 now in a bit more detail. Okay, so plenty of healthy fats. I think there's so much confusion on the market around fat. you know, we were told to follow low-fat diets, you know, back in the 90s, and this led to a lot of high sugar, high refined carbohydrate foods in our diet, which hasn't served us necessarily. You know, fat also has higher calories than your protein and carbs. So someone who is focused on calories, which is not something that we, you know, necessarily we need to be, and that's also individual, but it's, you know, people can start to fear it when you see how high it can be. So I wanted to just talk about the amazing things that good healthy fats do in our body. It can be a great energy source. So our bodies do know, if we give it a chance, how to use fat for energy. It's vital to cell production, hormone production. Your brain is 60% fat. So if you're not giving your brain the good fats that it needs, it can cause things like, you know, anxiety, you know, and mood swings, whereas it's been proven that good fats can really improve your happiness and your brain health as well. Healthy skin, nails, all cells are made up of fats. So that's another key function for fat. Vitamin absorption, A, D, E, and K vitamins are all absorbed by fat. So if you're eating all the fruits and vegetables, but not giving your body enough fat, you're not going to be absorbing all the nutrients from those vegetables and fruits. So that's another key thing. Keeps us feeling full, keeps us satisfied. So we're not going to reach for the sugar-laden items later on. And it really can help with weight management by making your body thrive, your digestion. It can really assist with this. So it's not something to be feared. We love healthy fats, and it can come in so many good sources. So seeds and nuts are really powerful plant-based sources. Your avocados, olive products, olive oil, olives, all coconut products, fatty fish are just some really good examples. And then moving on to fiber. So fiber-rich whole foods. Fiber is what, you know, I think we talk a lot about carbs, but I think fiber is where we really need to be talking and making sure that we're getting enough fiber in our diet. So fiber is so important for our gut health. And we know that, another stat, 70% of our immune system is in the gut. So, you know, we really need to be looking after our guts, and fiber feeds the good bacteria in our gut. So it really helps us thrive, helps with our digestion, can regulate blood sugar. There's so many great things about fiber. And fiber doesn't, when I'm talking about whole carbs, it doesn't, you know, we don't need to necessarily always think grains. There's a lot of other places you can get your fiber. Your vegetables, starchy vegetables, legumes, even non-starchy vegetables have fiber in them as well, and your grains. And then if you look down, nuts and seeds are, you know, the seeds in particular are a powerhouse for fiber. And you would probably never have 100 grams of chia seeds in one sitting because they're very, very strong, potent, filling. Yeah, exactly. So you know that you would, you know, that is quite a significant amount if you did, but you know, just a little bit of sprinkles here and there can really increase your fiber load. You know, and carbs is one I just wanted to touch on. You know, and again, it's such an individual thing. So, you know, Sue and I have completely different constitutions and follow different ways of eating in terms of what makes us thrive. So for me, I know my body can't tolerate many grains, and I feel much better when I'm eating a higher fat and a bit lower carbohydrate diet, which doesn't mean no carbohydrates. Love starchy veg, nut seeds, some legumes, etc. But my body, I know that works for my body, whereas Sue, her body thrives on more whole grains. So we're all different, and it's really about listening and making sure that you're eating the right amount for you. There's lots, so this is just a bit of a visual just to show there's lots of amazing ways you can get extra fiber and healthy fats into your day. Seeds, we talk a lot about them, but they really are a powerhouse. So sprinkling them on salads, on eggs, on everywhere, just sprinkle them. Chia seeds in smoothies, avocado is a fantastic source, and all your nuts. So there's lots and lots of good ways of getting these ingredients. So going back to you know, what diet is right for you or what way of eating, you know, I just wanted to show this. It's from Functional Foods. You can look them up on Instagram as well. I didn't create this slide, but the key point here is the key link in all these ways of eating is whole foods, you know, and whether you follow one of these ways of eating, you know, always, or you mix and match depending on your day, your mood, you know, it's all about getting the rainbow, getting all those healthy fats and colorful plates. So there's not one way to do it, and there's a lot of, as we know, other things that come into it that might make one work for you better. Okay, now we're going to get on to the refined sugar. So eating that way that we've just discussed, you know, will indirectly crowd out. You won't have as much room in your day to eat the refined sugar and carbohydrates, which we do know are addictive in nature. So the sugar is addictive in nature. Has anyone felt that real intense hunger after you've had a lot of sugar? Maybe you know, you've had a day of just eating, you know, some of these foods, and you just get that intense growl, like that you could eat anything. The first thing you see, you will eat it. Hands up. Reaction. Yeah. Oh, good. You are not alone. That is what I like to call a hanger, sugar hanger. That isn't genuine hunger. That is you going up and down the sugar roller coaster, the blood sugar spike, you know, and the insulin production, and then the blood sugar crash. And once you get to the bottom and you crash, there's that absolute intense craving for sugar. So this is what sugar does. It's addictive, and it takes you on what I like to call the blood sugar roller coaster, up, down, highs, lows, mood swings. And then this has a lot of long-term effects, you know, the constant insulin production, the blood sugar spikes can lead to all these things here, which, you know, are not what we want to be doing if we're in optimal health. And they also, you know, they've had everything refined out of them. They lack the fiber and nutrients that we've talked about in whole foods. But I want to take it back a notch and you know, really just highlight that not all sugar is like this. And, you know, we do all need some sugar to function. You know, if you're running a marathon, you're going to need a lot more sugars than if you're not, but everyone needs some sugar for body function. So, you know, it's not, again, about avoiding everything, but focusing on healthier and more natural sources. Fruit is number one. It has all the fiber content, the vitamins, so you know it will slow down that blood sugar spike with the fiber. And then there are some more natural sugars that are less refined, lower GI, that can be enjoyed in your diets. Things like dried fruits, honey, raw coconut sugar, maple syrup, even dark chocolate. So again, it's, you know, it's about finding out the right level for you and what works for you. And it's also about understanding sugar in a little bit more detail so that you can be the detective when you go to the supermarket and you pick up a product and you know what you're looking for. So the WH guidelines, going back to WH, say 50 grams per day of sugar, or 10 teaspoons. And then they've just revised it in 2015, actually, to say that if you eat below 25 grams or 6 tablespoons, this would provide additional health benefits. So what do they mean here by, you know, the 50 grams of sugar? It's the free sugars. So it's things like sugars added to your foods and drinks, glucose, fructose, sucrose, table sugar are some names that you might hear. There's a lot of other names out there. Or sugars naturally presented. So your honeys, syrups also contribute to this. Fruit juices, fruit juice concentrates, things where there's fiber removed also do contribute to your numbers. And just a couple, you know, I think the key thing here is, and we'll get into it in the next slide, but there's a lot of marketing on products out there, you know, talking about low sugar, no added sugar. So what is low sugar? It's 5 grams per 100 grams or less in a product. And no added sugar is none of these free sugars, but it could still have a lot of other fruit in it, for example. So it's, you know, it's good to see these terminologies, but it's also important to dive into becoming a master in reading the labels. So I thought today we would just touch on it for those of you who need a refresher or would like to go a little bit deeper into understanding their sugars. So here are two products. So something from a breakfast cereal aisle, which looks, it's got good fiber and it looks like quite a healthy alternate. So if you go into the ingredients, so I would always recommend starting with the ingredients. And for those, just to note, the first ingredient is the ingredient that is most prominent in the product, and it goes from highest to lowest in the product. So this product starts with whole grain wheat, which is great. Doesn't start with a sugar, but then following on from that, there's a few things. There's the blueberry puree, which is like a jam, dextrose, glucose syrup, sugar, maltodextrin. There's a few things in there that I wouldn't have in my kitchen necessarily, and quite a few different sugars in there. So looking at that, it probably isn't made up 100% of whole foods, as we can see. So, if you're trying to focus on the real ingredient, it might not meet your criteria. And then if we look at the sugar quantities in it, so it's highlighted in orange, per 100 grams is 17, but it's saying that per serving you would have 45 grams. So that would be about 8 grams of sugar. If you're going to add milk, 12 grams of sugar. So if you're having a 25-gram day of sugar, your little bowl of cereal will be half of that finished for the day. So then you've only got another half, which could be a banana or something else. But so the point is just to look at the nutritional panel as well, and then just sort of start to see how much is in your product. So then snacks is another category if we're looking, where this is a vegan snack, plant-based, good protein. So some good protein in here. But if we look at the ingredients, there's a lot of sugars, apple juice, pear puree, they all are considered the sugars. So, and then if we're looking at the per serving, which is 70 grams, so it's the whole packet, so 5 balls, you're going to get 31 grams of sugar from that. So that is considered your daily limit if you're going on 25 or a little bit higher. So it's don't want to get too fixated on numbers. Everyone will have a different level. Again, if you're doing a lot of working out or need more sugar in your life, it's everyone has a different number. But just to get a little bit of an idea on how much sugar is in your foods and what the source of it is powerful. And something that you can do when you're at the supermarket or wherever you are. It's a tool that you can use for life. Okay, moving on from sugar, we're going to talk a little bit about gluten-free and trying gluten-free. So for those of you who might not know, gluten is found in some grains, including wheat, rye, barley, and then in quite a few of our foods that we eat that are a bit more processed, like your soy sauce, dressings, sauces, baked goods, processed food, quite often can contain gluten. Gluten can be inflammatory in the body. It can react in the gut with a lot of people, can cause digestive issues, autoimmunity, obesity. There's a lot of things that it can contribute to. And I think the key thing here is that it doesn't for everybody. And not everyone reacts to gluten, but it is one that a lot of health experts believe does trigger a lot of people, even if you aren't celiac, which is where you have to completely avoid gluten to alleviate your symptoms. There's sensitivity, and then there's also just eating a bit less gluten for your health. So it's about figuring out whether it works for you, and it's not necessarily for everyone. But it can have benefits for a lot of people, and it can. Some people might realize, I get a bit of digestive issues after I eat a lot of glutinous products, and so it could just be something to try, removing from a couple of meals and seeing if you can see any differences and benefits. Okay, over to
the chef. So thank you, Anne. So I suppose it's really important that we understand how to read the back of the labels. I'm not sure if you covered it, but as a manufacturer, the first ingredient on the labels and then going down the ladder is the most ingredient used. So generally when we're looking at the energy balls, is if the first ingredient is dates, that's the key ingredient used. So So when you're reading the back of the ingredients, and once you sort of get to know and understand that, you can then start swapping out some flours and ingredients. So look, there's many alternatives to eating typical grains and wheat flours. We've got plenty of ancient grains like teff and pseudo cereals like amaranth and quinoa and millet, and obviously these beautiful ingredient swaps here in front of us. So at the Whole Kitchen, if you've tried our breads before, we use the brown rice flour and the buckwheat in our signature country loaf, and that gives a beautiful nutty flavour with a little bit of hidden sweetness in there as well from the buckwheat. And then we also have a buckwheat flour, so using the buckwheat again in our sourdough, which we created about 4 years ago, pre-pandemic, mind you, so we were doing sourdough then. And so we use that with the chickpea and the buckwheat and oat flours and sorghums, and that gives a very complex but comfort sort of flavour to our breads. So when you sort of, I suppose with the whole foods diet as well, you want to really avoid refined grains, as Anne said. So the refined grains is where you take away that bran on the outside, you're taking away the germ, or you're taking away the endosperm as well, which is where all the nutrients are within those grains. So as soon as you start polishing rice and you start stripping away those brans, you're really getting rid of all those fibers and those nutrients. So that at the end of the day, in terms of whole foods, you really want to make sure that as much as possible you're using your brown rice or the whole grain itself. So I'm sure plenty of you out there know exactly how to use all the pseudo cereals, but as I said, you know, we use a lot of the flours, but you can also soak some of these beautiful grains here. I mean, you can soak buckwheat and quinoa, and you can use them in your salads, or you can also fold them through your bread doughs as well before baking for added nutrients and added texture, of course. But I suppose, obviously, when we're looking to replace all these beautiful gluten-free swaps as well, you're looking at more pastries and breads, basically, aren't you? So, so once you sort of, and with the gluten-free flours, it's really difficult to just replace it one for one. I'm sure a lot of you know that as well. So you really have to play around and look at the structure. And it's more about bread and cookies. So, I mean, buckwheat and oats, they're very good for biscuits and crusts. And almond meal, I mean, we all know the powerhouse of the almond. You can use it as a snack, you can use it as almond meal, and it's actually fantastic to cook with as well. I find it's really good for a one-to-one substitute most of the time. But something else to note as well, in the gluten-free flour world, the ingredients are very inconsistent. I'm sure a lot of you can agree with me on that one. If there's a recipe that states 100 grams of buckwheat flour, you can get buckwheat flour from Australia, and then you can get it from the States, and it is not the same. It is not the same recipe. So you've got to have a look at the absorbency rates, and you've really got to absorb what you really want to get out of that recipe. Yeah, so that's for the gluten-free swaps. But taking it back a little bit as well, and the whole thing about whole foods and living that sort of healthy life, we have to listen to ourselves, but it's also really wise to look on the outside as well. So we go to the supermarket shelf, we can pick something up in a bag and we can take it home, we can make a cake. But sometimes you got to take a step back and think about, what does this plant actually look like? And you know, I suppose since living here in the tropics, you look around and you're like, wow, what is that plant? And you're like, wow, that's a cacao plant. And, you know, that's a cacao I saw in the middle of, you know, a small island in Indonesia once. So you can see here, you know, a lot of us can identify wheat when we're driving around the countryside. A lot of us know what canola looks like, or a mango tree, or a banana tree. But the images here, I mean, the top left is a cashew nut, which grows in the tropics. And it's a beautiful looking fruit. We all know the coconut tree as well, but the one on the right, I'm curious to know if anybody knows what that is. Hands up if you do. So it's grown in on the Tibetan plateaus, and it grows at really high altitudes, and it grows very fast, and you can harvest it in the course of 3 months, and it's buckwheat. So buckwheat is from Chinese and Japanese traditions, as we're all familiar with the soybean noodle, and the Chinese use it a lot as well, as do the Russians. So buckwheat has a very long history of in cuisine and cultures. So it's just sort of thinking more in deep about these ingredients that we're using and the stories behind them. So it's not just about identifying the plants and what they look like, but it's also the faces behind who's making our food and who's actually growing our food. So I've got a few faces here, and I'm sure some of you can recognize at least one face there.
Yours?
Not mine, no, I'm not referring to that. So that's me down at the bottom with Bob Redmill. I'm sure a lot of you know him. But these are all our fabulous partners that we use at the Whole Kitchen. So so the lovely lady in the middle holding beehive is our partners in northern Thailand, and they harvest a lot of honey there, which is good. They harvest all year round, given the tropics and the bees and a lot of the flowers. So that's a very good, honey is a very good farming here in the tropics. To the top left is Comcrop, and the right is Urban Tillers. So these guys are the pioneers of Singapore and growing food in Singapore on the rooftops here, which is something that's new for urban farming, which we'll get into on the next slide as well. So, and in the middle is the Grand Hyatt rooftop. I'm not sure if anybody's aware, but we have the Fairmont on Swiss Hotel and the Grand Hyatt, which everybody's now growing their food or aquaponics on the rooftop. So utilizing that space and trying to strengthen the story between the kitchens and the food and understanding where our food comes from. But stepping back again, as we know, like last year really sent shockwaves through the world with a lot of things, but one of them was supply chain. And we saw when the pandemic actually, when it happened, everybody just ran for the supermarket shelves and they got bags of rice and they got toilet paper and everything, and that was it. So a lot of the supply chains around the world really did put a stop to fresh fruit and vegetables, and they really just did look at, those main supplies to keep the world turning. But at the same time, a lot of countries around the world, especially Singapore, really thought about that. And thought about their food security and how, if we have an outbreak, how they can take care of their communities and how each world can be self-sufficient. So there's actually only a few countries in the world that is self-sufficient in terms of food, which is scary in itself. But Singapore at the moment imports 90% of its food, and about 30 to 40% of that is from Malaysia. And during the pandemic, actually, they worked very hard to make sure that those lines of food remained open. So if it wasn't by road, it was definitely by container, and they brought it in by ship. So Singapore's done a very good job in terms of food security. But one thing that they did say last year is they really want to have a vision of 30% of food security by 2030. So that's only like 8 years away. So there's a lot of initiatives at the moment with they're putting a lot of investment into rooftop farming, urban farming. They're allocating a lot more space in the sea. So at the moment, they're only allocated 1% of the land mass here in Singapore. So it's not very much. And just to touch, so that's talking about how to grow food. But then at the other end, we actually waste a lot of food as well. So, when we're talking about whole foods and health, it's about using everything. It's not really about wasting a lot. Still food waste today, the amount of food produced by the world is wasted by about 50%. So that's actually quite a lot. So when we're looking at shopping or what we throw away or the refined grains or all of this, it all comes into play about leading a healthy life and a healthy planet. So just for instance, in 2019, Singapore did a little study and we generated 744 millions of kilos of food waste, which is equivalent to 2 bowls of rice per person per day in the bin. So that's a lot of waste. So, it's just good for us to sort of, look around and see where our food's going. But without getting too heavy, we want to push aside all that seriousness, which is really good to think about. We really need to be responsible. But food is not just about adding petrol to the tank or making sure we've got a 20-kilo bag of rice ready for the next pandemic. We really need to enjoy the food that we have and appreciate it. And that comes down to the food waste as well. So food is pleasurable, it's comforting, it's about community, it brings families together. And most of us eat every day, all the time, every day, either by ourselves or with our families or with our colleagues. So, and we all have food memories. So I'm sure we have memories, either good or bad, about the Brussels sprouts or the, the beautiful chicken soup Grandma used to make or something like that. But, food is creating these memories and it brings us all together as a community and as families, or splits us apart. One of the two. But also, just a little one there. I remember when I was young, my grandma, she used to grow, the grandma story, grow the vegetables and had a chicken, and she had a cow, and she used to give me, when I was young, a glass of milk, which is from the cow, and I found it so disgusting. Like, it was so warm and creamy, and today we would all go, oh, amazing. But I just used to look at the cold carton of milk in the fridge, and that's all I wanted to have. But that's the memories I have from when I was young. But also food brings together weddings and birthdays and family traditions. And then we pass all those stories and histories on to our children. So that's what I was going to say. Yeah. So leading on to the next one. So it's about comfort and bringing pleasure to the table, whether you're buying your food and we're trying to understand it, or learning to love the kitchen again. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of whizzes in the kitchen out there, baking cakes and biscuits and things for your families, probably better than any of us here. But the whole, but some of us are actually scared of the kitchen, and we might have a little bit of anxiety, especially with, oh, is this right? Am I using the right grain? Is there, this? And I suppose the whole idea is just to get a few recipes together to start with, find something that works, and then you can sort of start to slowly trade those ingredients in and out, and you can sort of create that those beautiful birthday cakes, and always back to the waste. Just try and save your time as always. I think if the classic, roasted chicken on a Sunday night, that some of us used to have or still have. If you're baking a whole chicken or a whole fish, put aside some of that and you can use some of it the next day, or you can make a beautiful stock. And then the next day you can make a beautiful soup, or you can add something to a beautiful salad. So always never throw anything out, and always try and use everything up as much as possible. And then going down again, and it's all about condiments. So sometimes you need to find those beautiful sauces or condiments, or just a unique herb that you might have seen in the wet market down the road. I know I love luxor leaf, and I love Vietnamese mint and basil and all those beautiful herbs. So it's sort of utilizing those in salads, or little condiments. So at the end, if you're still with us, we actually have some recipes that we've put together. But you have to stay to the end, I understand. No, just kidding. And then we'll send them out so you can give those a try. And then you can post those on IG and you can let us know how you go.
So that is really why we started the whole kitchen. It's really about bringing taste and nutrition together. I think one thing to say is, we are all about getting back in the kitchen, enjoying, loving the kitchen, cooking, but we also, live in the real world and understand that you can't always make everything from scratch. We're all busy. So that's why we decided to create the whole kitchen, really, to bring this genuinely healthy food for you, and make it available when you don't have time to make it yourself. And as we've mentioned before, it's all about low sugar, gluten-free, all natural, and made locally by our amazing team who is here. So these are some of the faces in our kitchen, our amazing team who make our beautiful products every day alongside us. You want to say anything about your
Yeah, I
team?
mean, it's what we're all saying, and I think Anne just said something that we encourage everybody to get back in the kitchen and ask all those questions about healthy food and whole foods. But when you can't do it, that's when we're here to sort of help you, and that's the whole reason why we started the business as well.
And then we just wanted to end on a couple of points. I guess, you know, health is not just all about the food. Again, it is holistic, and it takes a lot of different elements to create that optimal health. We talked about how you're moving daily, your breath, are you stopping and breathing, focusing on it, sleep, all these things are really important. And this will change throughout your life, how much time you have to give to different areas. So having been a triathlete and having spent a lot of my life getting up very early and focusing on my morning exercise, that was a really big part. Now having a toddler, my journey has changed, and something that we've started doing recently, he gets up early anyway, is packing his breakfast, popping him in the pram with his bike for afterwards, and off we go to East Coast Park, which is my happy place here in Singapore, and just, you know, going for a walk, talking, being out in nature. And that's been quite a nice shift in our morning routine to use that morning, whereas before we were just, you know, fumbling around here getting ready. So that's, you know, and it's not a 10K run, but it's getting out and moving. And I think it's just about trying to fit in as much movement and things that fill you up and make you feel whole and happy as you can in your day. And then finally, we just wanted to leave you with one thought. You know, being healthy is not about perfection, and you know, we can't be perfect. No one's perfect. It's all about consistency, and it's the small choices that you make daily that will add up in the long run and will create a healthy life for you. So, you know, focus on the 90%, the 80%, celebrate those moments, and, you know, the 10, 20, whatever that number is for you, enjoy, you know, enjoy it wholeheartedly, and then, you know, get back to focusing on the thriving elements. But it really isn't about perfection. It's about trying every day and being consistent. And the other key just point I wanted to leave is that, you know, being healthy is not a destination either. You don't get there and then I'm at optimal health and it's going to stay like that. It's constantly evolving, it's changing, your needs are changing. So it really is a journey. So find the things you love to do, to eat, and do them often, and enjoy the journey and enjoy life.
As much as you can.
So thank you. That is, how did we go for time? That's what we had to share today. We're really happy to answer any questions, Susan, that might have come through.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to Karin for you know, recommending and saying that Urban Tiller, is that how you say it? Urban Tiller is definitely worth ordering from. So she said that they're fantastic. So let's start with some of the questions that we have. This is a question for me. So is organic better than non-organic food?
Okay, you want me to answer?
Yeah, we can go each.
So organic food, the way it's processed and made, means that there are less chemicals, additives, pesticides on your products. So all of those artificial food substances are toxic. It can be toxic and are not necessarily whole food. They're not whole foods, and they're not what your gut is supposed to be eating. So essentially, how I would answer that is, yes, organic food is better for your gut health, your body, because it doesn't have all those other elements in it. But, you know, it can be really expensive, and it can be prohibitively expensive. So one tool that we would recommend would be going on and looking at the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 lists, which a body in the US brings out every year, which tells you what the cleanest fruit and vegetables are in terms of their processing and their harvesting. So, and those ones potentially no need to choose organic versions. And then the dirty dozen are the 12 most pesticide vegetables and crops that use pesticides. So maybe they're the ones that you want to focus on if you want to start slowly with organic. That's how I would.
And that's USA based as well.
Yeah.
So you need to take that into account. But it's a general sort of. They do a lot of tests. They do about 50,000 tests with the FDA and agriculture in the US. So it's been going for decades now, I think. So you can start there. Look, it's better for soil. You know, with all the pesticides, it really does run down soil. Biodynamic farming is much better, of course. You're working with the elements. You're working with nature, the seasons. You know, buying strawberries, you know, all year round is probably not a good thing. You know, but that's consumer behaviour. You know, we're all driving that. I think at the end of the day, yes, of course, like Anne said, organics are better, but it's affordability at the same time.
Okay, yeah. Another question from Alice. If you had to select 5 things to buy organic, what would they be? 5 staples, 5 organic staples that you could buy.
Ours are probably different. I would buy organic dairy, definitely. All the antibiotics that are given to the cows. I think that if you're going to be choosing dairy, choose organic. Organic or grass-fed meat. You know, your protein sources, looking at that. And then the dirty dozen would be my...
The dirty dozen. I like that word.
Yeah.
Okay. We have to go and check that out. Okay, another question. This is also for me. So you said that 90% of the food is imported. What are your views on China veggies? So when I go to my local grocery store, it's divided into like organic, vegetables, local vegetables that is from Singapore and Malaysia, and then you have the vegetables that is from China. So I mean, I obviously, my view is that, you know, okay, I don't buy the ones from China, but what are your views? Are they safe enough to consume? Obviously they are, because they sell them in the grocery store. What do you think?
Yeah, oh look, it's, you know, Singapore, Australia, America, they all have very strict authorities, food authorities, agricultural authorities that are very transparent. I think that we can trust, you know, and saying that Singapore actually brings in vegetables from those countries, they definitely don't bring in a lot of GMO products, which we've been asked before. So that they do regulate those. But I look, to be honest, like I can't say, like to be really honest from a professional standpoint, you know, China does, their agricultural system is massive. You know, they're growing lots of food. They're a massive powerhouse. I don't know if their authorities and the regulations are as strict as other countries. So I can't say, honestly.
Yeah. Good.
And I think it changes all the time.
As well.
I think, you know, maybe 10, 20 years ago, what they were producing is maybe different now. You know, I know that a lot of organics.
Exactly.
They're trying to be a big player in the world on the global scale, rather than just being self-sufficient. You know, so it keeps changing. It's hard to say.
Okay. One other question is, what is your view on Norwegian salmon? I didn't even know that there's a vending machine for Norwegian salmon. But what are your views for Norwegian salmon?
Norwegian salmon, the vending machine or the?
Well, just the Norwegian salmon, like farmed, or, you know, they are farmed. Are they better? Are they better for you, or are they not better for you?
Norwegian, I mean, I don't know all the data on Norwegian salmon, as in whether that is a better salmon than other salmons. I think it's about the farming method again. So wild, farmed, you know, and you know, the quality of the food that the salmon are eating. So I think all those things play a role in my view, instead of, you know, the country, and same with potentially the China vegetables quality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question is, how do we wash our veggies? Do we wash them with water and bicarbonate soda, or do we buy those sprays, fruit and veggie wash sprays? How do you wash your vegetables? I'm curious.
You want to go?
Ah, me. Well, yeah. It's funny. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about that, and you can see on a packet, again back to marketing, that it's it's triple washed organic vegetables. So but it's triple washed in chlorine or something like that. So look, it's big, and how you process and prepare your vegetables when you receive them, how you put them in the fridge, how you store them. I mean, I know there's plenty of washes and vegetable washes around. Maybe we can all share some more information about that here. I'm sure a lot of you know more about that than me. But yeah, there's definitely acids and things like that, like bicarbs and things like that are good for that.
Okay. Another question is, this is from Emily. I shop once a week maximum. How should we store our veggies to best preserve their nutrients? Good question.
Best preserve the nutrients. I mean, I store my veggies in the fridge in paper bags.
In paper bags. Okay.
Yeah, mine come in paper bags, depending where I shop. So I just keep them like that, and they last a week, a week. I don't do anything fancy, to be honest. Do you do anything in terms of preserving?
I think when it comes to herbs and things like that, you definitely leave them out or in a cool place. And especially everything in a cool, dry place. I think here in Singapore, so definitely in wrapped up in the fridge.
I think we have to put more in the fridge than we would.
Do you put bread in the fridge?
Bread?
Yes, you put the bread in the fridge.
Yeah,
store it in the fridge. I mean,
day one, and then after that, I put it in the fridge. Yeah.
Right, and you could also freeze bread, right? Obviously.
Yes.
And then use it for later.
Absolutely.
Okay. One question from Anne. Do you bake any pastries using stevia sugar? Did I pronounce that right? Stevia sugar?
From the Whole Kitchen, no, we don't. We don't use stevia in our products. When we do use sugars, we use honey, organic coconut sugar, and dried fruits like dates. It's a sweetener. It's a fairly natural sweetener, but we use the real food sugar when we do it. But our key thing is to keep the sugar, even if we're using those natural sugars, we keep the level of sugar in our products low. So we try and use different spices and different ingredients to bring out the flavour, rather than just it being really high in sugar to bring out the tasty flavour.
Yeah, and look, that's something that Anne and I, we've been talking about recently. Like, there's so many new ingredients on the market, and you have to ask that question. It's like, well, hang on, what is this? It ticks the box of keto. Yeah, I think it's halal. Yeah. But what is it? And then we're actually in this discussion now. Like, do we start using like there's monk fruits and there's this, and but where does it come from? Can we get a lot of it? Or are the products going to be affordable if we use these sugar alternatives? So yeah.
And also, how natural are they, and what science or studies have been done? So we always want to make sure we're looking at all that information when we use a product, so we're confident about it.
Right. Okay. And what are your views about low fat, non-fat, or full fat? So I always get confused. Is it just okay to go full fat, and because that's the most non-tweaked version?
Yeah.
Because low fat is tweaked. What do you think?
Yes. So always full fat. Always full fat.
Always full fat.
Yes. So if you're having the low fat, say milk, or skimmed milk, what you'll notice on the labels and nutrition is that it's higher in sugar, higher in the lactose, because it's had the fat removed. And again, going back to healthy fats, which I'm really passionate about, that is the part of the milk, for example, if we're talking about milk, that will keep you full, keep you satiated, not spike your blood sugar. For so many reasons, as well as all the benefits to your cell development. So full fat.
Full fat. Okay, that's good to know, because I have small children. Yeah, it tastes better as well. Full fat. Everything with fat tastes good. Okay, perfect. Okay, and I kind of have like a few more questions. So what does gluten intolerance look like in adults compared to, gluten intolerance in kids, for example? What does that look like?
So Liz, who is here today, who's our marketing manager, amazing part of our team, she's celiac, and so she's the best person to answer this actually from a personal experience.
Thank you. I mean, I diagnosed celiac in 2009, and I had some digestive problems, and I went to the doctor, and we did some tests, and it came out celiac. But I mean, I think I had like bloated. I was bloated all the time, feeling low energy, vitamin deficiencies, and I wasn't feeling my best. And of course, the doctor first said, "Oh, it's because of the stress. It's just give some medicine," and he sent me away. But then I said, "There's something wrong. Let's dive in and see what's the cause of this, And we did this endoscopy and found out that I was celiac, and it's a life changer, definitely. And I felt so much better. Even after 1 month cutting gluten in my diet, I felt more energy. I didn't have any digestion problem, and I didn't even cheat one day in 10 years. I mean, of course, gluten, the journey, you learn a lot. You learn that not only having a gluten-free diet is not enough for your health. So you need to find like healthier version of gluten-free stuff. And thank God our whole kitchen in Singapore is amazing. I mean, that's a dream work for me, definitely. And
we didn't ask her to say that, by the
way. Your daughter,
my daughter actually is gluten allergy. I mean, celiac. So with her, actually, we didn't see much growth. She was 3 years old. She wasn't growing. She wasn't gaining weight, and the doctors were saying, "Oh, it's normal. She's active. She's not. She's not low energy, actually." So we didn't recognize easily. But I said, "Please, can we do the test again? I mean, let's see if it's celiac or not." And then it came out celiac, and she grew so much, gained weight in 3 months, just cutting the gluten. And it feels like it's hard to cut gluten. It scares people, I know, but when you see that difference in your body, you don't want to go back, really. So with my kid as well, she has so much energy. She's growing. She's the tallest in her class. So definitely it's worth it to know the cause of the problems and solve it.
You have some great swaps that you use in your house, like the brown rice.
Yeah, we use actually now not the corn, like not the white rice anymore. We use brown rice. We use quinoa more, and like of course, it's, when you have a child like 8 years old, toddler, they want pasta, they want rice. So we use like healthier version like brown rice or quinoa pasta. I would recommend, and even the legume pastas are very popular. I think chickpeas. It's good. I mean, so you can. I mean, definitely you can understand your symptoms, your bloating. I mean, or like iron deficiency is very common as well, or vitamin D deficiencies. All these things in your body can relate to gluten sensitivity or celiac.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I just ask everybody if we have any more questions, put it on the chat now. Anne and Susan, can you tell us where we can find the whole kitchen? And also you do have, if we come and visit you, you have a little promotion for us, don't you?
Yes. Put that up on the slide. Forgot to share that. So we have a website. We have many great partners around Singapore where you can find our products. If you're out and about, places like Little Farms, Hoobers, Ryan's, Super Nature, all range our products. Red Mart, a lot of cafe partners as well, where you can eat at their cafe and have our breads or our cakes to support the gluten-free element. Or we, in December, opened our own little cafe in Katong. So come down and see us. We'd love to see all our familiar faces and new faces too. And what we've put on the menu just recently is a tasting platter. So we have a lot of things, and if you just don't know what you want to eat, why not try a little bit of everything? So we've got this great tasting platter, and we've got a special discount for you guys today.
This is such a great idea. Thank you so much. I have been actually at yours 3 times already, and I have been like cheekily tasting my way through your menu, and it's amazing. Yeah, last question from Alice. Any preferred coffee brand, you guys?
I think we signed the contract about 2 or 3 months ago.
We use All Press coffee, which is from New Zealand. I want to say it's Australia, New Zealand, and the brand, and they're great partners of ours. They're great guys, and we love their coffee. So we use it.
Yeah, your coffee tastes definitely so good. Okay, so we have a recipe booklet, e-recipe booklet that we're sending everybody today, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay, so everyone who registered today will get that in their inbox, and Susan and Anne are going to send that from us. Thank you so much, ladies. We are out of time. Thank you so much. That was pretty good. 1 hour and 5 minutes. Well done. Thank you so much for taking your time, for informing us all about Whole Foods this morning. I'm sure that a lot of people have more in-depth questions for you, so I'm just going to tell them to email you directly. And
please do. Yeah.
Yeah, and you are always around, out and about in your cafe. So if you guys are there, they can come and say hello. Now they know what you look like. So perfect. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic afternoon. And thank you for being with us this morning. And thank you everyone for joining and taking your time to be with us this morning. Thank you so much. Bye guys.
See you. Bye.
Bye.